Welcome to the DIY Goalie Podcast, where hosts and goalie coaches Nathan Park and Connor Monday share their insights on how to become a better goalie. Goalies, welcome back to another episode of the DIY Goalie Podcast. I am back after missing the last couple of weeks of interviews, and I am joined, as always, with my co-host Connor Monday, and today we have another guest on for an interview, a AHL, ECHL, SPHL, all the HL goalies. Talor Joseph, he's a personal friend of mine and has done some work with us at True North Goaltending. He is fresh off of an SPHL championship with Evansville, right? Evansville,
Yeah.
not Evansburg. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's going to kind of join us today and talk a little bit about bouncing around in the minors and kind of the territory that a lot of us don't really get to see. So thanks for joining us, Tajo. How are you doing today?
No, thanks for having me, Nathan and Connor. Things are good. It's hectic. Just got back home from Evansville a week ago. I'm from just outside Edmonton, and now me and my wife's from Vancouver, so we'll be heading out there in a couple weeks. So just spending some time with family and friends, and then gonna get the summer going, the off season going.
Yeah, always a good time for the pro goalies trying to figure out what to do with their free time.
Yeah, it's always something. But yeah, no, it's been good. I've been blessed to be able to play. This is my finishing my third year pro now, and it's been awesome. And yeah, just some really cool experiences, a lot of different experiences, as we'll touch on, I'm sure. And no, it's been awesome. So
yeah, no, that's great, Tajo. Thanks for coming on the pod here. I guess we'll just kind of get things started a little bit. Just kind of give us a little bit of a background on you. You said you grew up in the Edmonton area here, so where did you play? Why did you get into playing goalie? And just kind of what brought you to the position? And we'll go at it from there.
yeah, no, I think so my dad was a pro football basketball player. He spent some time in the CFL with the Eskimos, and begged him for years to play hockey, and he finally let me start playing when I was, I think, 8. So I was in Northside Edmonton to start with, played minor hockey there, then moved to Sheer Park, Strathcona area, and spent some time there. Finally, and this is for kids that, like, if you're not playing AAA or AA right now, like, I think my first year AAA was midget. So I kind of just we didn't know much about how hockey worked, and as you know, all you guys know, there's a lot of politics involved. My parents didn't really get involved in that, and so we just kind of learned as we went. And I'd often play house or tier 3, like B, everything. Like, I think my first year rep, and it's not really rep anymore, was Bantam A, and that was in my draft year of Bantam. So I went from last cut AAA to playing in Bantam A that year, and then somehow the next year played 15 AA, which I don't even think is a thing really anymore. And then went to WHL camp from there and won a championship that season, so that kind of helped. But then the next year I played midget AAA in Lloydminster. We had 7 or 8 goalies from Sheer Park, I think, playing AAA somewhere. So I ended up having to go to Lloydminster to make a team, and spent a year there, and then end up playing junior B my 17-year-old year, which is kind of unconventional in this area. Junior B wasn't too big, so it wasn't sure if that was the end of my career there, but was able to manage to play junior A my 18, 19, 20-year-old year, and was fortunate to host nationals, the RBC Cup back in the day, with my team in Portage in Manitoba. Things were going great there. Was number 1 ranked goalie in Canada for that season, with leading in shutouts, goals against, save percentage. Had quite a few Division 1 offers, and I ended up tearing my meniscus in, I think, Christmas, and playing rebound in practice. Was done for the year, lost all my scholarship offers, so that was hard at that time, just having to deal with that, because at that age, as we know, that's kind of everything to us at that time, and you think it's the end of the world when something like that happens. So yeah, and then just end up playing U Sports in at Nipissing University, in North Bay, Ontario for 4 years. Transferred to Trinity Western to do my master's and play, and it was their first year U Sports. And then kind of got my crack out of pro there in the American League after that for at the end of that season. So that's kind of how a little short story in 2 minutes, but that's kind of how it started for me.
Yeah, you and I share a very similar couple of years in our career because I ended up playing in Fort Francis because Tajo got me the coach's number after I got cut from my team after tearing my meniscus. And then ended up getting traded to Portage. So I basically, was just following Tajo around after he moved on from one place. I would come and fill his spot. So
no, it worked out. It worked. I think didn't you guys win too, or get close? You won in Fort Francis, I think, and then
both years we won the league, so in Fort and in Portage, and both times we came within one win of going to nationals. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
No, it's grateful for the introduction there to good old Strawner. So we kind of touched a little bit on your move to the AHL for a brief cup of coffee when you're at Trinity there. Why don't you tell us about kind of overall your pro career, kind of the different levels you've hit on and some of the, I don't know, background stuff that the normies, I guess, we don't really see too much of when we're not involved in kind of the up and down and some of the behind the scenes stuff that the semi-pro goalies and just players in general have to deal with.
Yeah, 100%. I think for young goalies, I think it's so important, and I know it's a balance. Like, you got to know if you really love the game, but you almost want to treat it as a job, or like when you're younger. Like, this is like, if this is something you really want to do, you got to treat it as a full-time job. And yes, you have to make money and work in the summer. Like, I totally get that. Not everybody comes from money, and for me, I was working jobs and doing whatever I could to train. But I think I wish I knew earlier, as we all say now. I wish I knew what I knew now earlier, and just really treating it as a full time job. And like, this is what I want to do. As I got older, I really realized what I had to do to be successful and to work. And like, nothing really came easy to me, so it just, I had to grind for whatever I got. And I think a cool experience, and I'll share this with young kids and goalies, is when my first day in the American League, I got called up to Abbotsford, and I just remember, like, I was like, I'm gonna get there super early, like in the morning, like I'm gonna get there super early, like be the first guy there. And I've been doing this in university and getting doing, like, working on mobility, working on different things just to be ready before practice. But I remember I got there at 7 a.m. and we had a meeting at 9, so I was 2 hours early, which is pretty early. And I remember getting there, and I was like the seventh guy there. Michael DiPietro, he's with Boston's farm system now. He's with Vancouver for a while. I remember I got there and he'd been stretching since 6 a.m. like in the gym and stuff. So it was a cool, eye-opening thing just to see how, like, these pros, how seriously they take their job, and like how early they get there, how they work on their craft. And it's not just on the ice, they're doing things off the ice they have to do. But it really is like a 24/7 job for them, and that's how they treat it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so with that then, because like you see it across different kind of avenues, I guess, like in the federal level, the Southern Pro, ECHL. I mean, like, it's a constant switch of players going up and down the system, basically. So as a goalie and as a pro athlete, how do you mentally approach the bouncing around aspect that goes on at the semi-pro level? Like, one week you're in the Fed, the next week you're in the coast, and then the week after you're in the Southern Pro. So how do you mentally approach that, and how do you effectively try not to let that potential for change affect how you play?
Yeah, no, that's good. I remember so just a little story here. But my stint in the American League that I had, it was short and sweet. It went really well. Like I think my first game I got first star, I got an assist, got the win, and I just remember thinking like, oh, I'm set. Like I'm gonna have a full time East Coast job the year next year, right? And maybe I didn't look at. I had some European offers after that I should have taken a little bit more seriously, just because they are hard to get. And but I thought, you know what, no, I'm going to be in the coast. Like I really had that like I saw that it's possible, and you're right there. And so I was like, I want to try to go for the NHL. I want to stay in North America, because that's usually how it goes if you want to pursue the NHL. Once you kind of go to Europe, it doesn't completely close the door, but it makes it a little harder. But I stayed and tried to pursue the East Coast League, and I realized off the bat, like, that it's not as glamorous and easy as it looks. You got to get really fortunate, get to a right spot, or else you can land somewhere you don't really necessarily want to be, or saw being. So I remember like after that American League time, I had some advice from an agent at the time just to go to the Southern Professional League, start a bunch of games, and then get called up to the East Coast League right away. Because in the East Coast League, it is tough to find a full-time position, because most of the goalies on those rosters are NHL contracted goalies, right? And so you'll have at least one, maybe two NHL contracted goalies in the East Coast League team. So for a guy that, if you're not drafted or if you're not signed with a NHL team, it is a tough spot to get full time in the East Coast League. So I went to the Southern Professional League, and I missed camp. There's some I had one of my best friend's dads passed away, so I missed camp and wasn't able to go, and it ended up not making that team when I finally was able to get there. And you realize how important it is to, like, when you're going to camp somewhere, you want to stick, because it is hard to bounce around and find a team that you can stick with, especially if a coach has seen goalies for 2 weeks in camp. He's going to give them a chance if he likes them, right? So it is tough. So I remember after my American League stint, I got let go from the SP team I had went to, and bounced around a bit, went back up to the East Coast League with New Jersey's farm system. Didn't catch a break there, didn't get a start when I was supposed to, and ended up getting sent back as an American League goalie, dropped down. And then couldn't find an SP team really, and ended up having to go to the Federal Prospects League, which was it's the lowest league in North America. And I was on such a high from being in the American League and doing well, that it was almost devastating. it was devastating at the time. And it's so easy at that point to just call her quits. And it really, you realize how much you love the game when you go down there, because it's not the most glamorous. It's still decent hockey. Like it's fun to play, but it's kind of, I had to use it as a stepping stone to move up. And when I went there, I only wanted to go there for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks max, and leave. And I think I spent a year and a half in that league. And just kind of worked hard, didn't try to just stay in the moment, try to stay focused on where you're at, not where you want to be. Because as soon as you do that, you're not going to succeed at where you're at. You're going to really just look at, if you're looking at where you want to go, you're not going to be able to focus and do what you want to do where you're at. So I had to learn there, just stay focused, be content in any situation where I'm at, and be happy that I get to play hockey as a profession. And for me, it's just to grind and get called up back again. And that's what I was able to do this past year. I was able to get a full-time position in the SPHL. And and it definitely, it's not easy, especially when you don't want to you're not where you want to necessarily be, but you just got to stay focused on where you're at, perform where you're at, and the rest will kind of work itself out.
So that being said, then, because I know you kind of talked about trying to find somewhere to stick, and obviously, like, you had your good performance in the A there, and that didn't really help. So just given your time, a little bit more experience after the last couple of years, like, what do you think are some of the things that help goalies stick at one level, or maybe even kind of like work up the ranks of semi-pro to potentially even get like a full pro contract?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is being consistent. When you're getting your starts, you don't know when you're going to get them. You have to make the most of it. So the biggest thing is just like having for me, I have a routine that kind of gets me prepared, and you got to trust and believe in yourself every time you get in the net, and not worry. Like I said again, of like you're in a game, maybe you're pitching a shutout going to the third period, and you're thinking, oh, if I get the shutout, it's going to help me move up. You can't think about that at all. You have to just strictly just live in the moment, play where you're at, and then kind of let the rest work for itself out. I think the biggest thing is just being consistent, and you have to be a good teammate. You have to work hard in practice. That's something I learned. I used to not like I have a very chill style of play. Like I'm very conservative, very relaxed. Like I'll use my athletic ability when I need to, but I try to make things look easy, and for me, so I think at times I'd make things look easy, and sometimes coaches would look and be like, "Oh, is he really working hard? Is he, you know what I mean?" And that's something I had to. You almost have to just throw that out of the way and just bat every time you're in practice. Battle on every shot, every opportunity. Like make sure you're going down when it's appropriate to go down, right? Like just not taking shortcuts, and then yeah, just being an amazing teammate, because when you're not in the net, you got to be able to bring some sort of value to your team. And that's even in this championship run, I got traded to a team later in the year, and their starting goalie was doing really well for them all year, and I got a game in when I was there and did really well, but he was their guy. And during playoffs I wasn't playing, but I had to just continue to be a good teammate and help the guys any way I could win, right? And it worked out. We ended up playing two of my previous teams in the playoffs that I had been with that year, so I was able to kind of give key insights and just do pre-scout, help the coach with pre-scouts, and just do whatever I can to help the guys out. And that's I think that goes a long way. You'd be surprised at how far that goes, just being a good teammate. Because if you're a good goalie and you can get things done on the ice, and then it's a bonus if you're a good teammate as well, and you can kind of help be a leader on and off the ice as well. So
There's a little bit of a meme, I suppose, when it comes to being the glue guy on the team in that aspect. But I don't think people actually fully understand the role or the importance of it, especially for somebody being in the number two spot as a goaltender on the team, is just kind of being that guy that keeps the boys engaged, keeps everybody in a good mood, and just keeps the team in a way where they're still able to proceed. I mean, you saw that in this last series with the Edmonton Oilers and Vegas Golden Knights as an example, where Calvin Pickard, he's going on a roll here. And so obviously it was Stuart Skinner's net for a while, but then Calvin Pickard comes in. And so now Stu's got to take on that role as being, the guy that supports Calvin instead of sitting there and pouting about it. I mean, even then when Calvin Pickard got injured, I mean, there was a clip I think Jason Greger posted here in Edmonton. Stewart comes off of his first shutout, and Calvin Pickard basically screams out "bleep yeah." But that's like you need those kind of people in the locker room. So I don't think people fully understand the effect with that sometimes.
no, and Pickard's an amazing example there, because you got to think like he's been a career American League goaltender. He realistically probably shouldn't have gotten a shot with Edmonton, just with his age, everything. No, honestly, and like the reason why he's been able to carve out a career for himself is because guys say he's an amazing person in the locker room. He battles every day in practice. He does all the right things. He's a pro, and that's what's given him this opportunity. And like we love, as goalies, we love to see guys when they get an opportunity and they're able to do what he did, because it just shows like A, his perseverance as a goaltender, and B, just how great of a teammate he is. Like the guys wanted to play for him when he was in that, right? Like they were so fired up for him when he was having success. And there's a reason for that. And that's something I've learned is like, just when you're a good teammate, guys want you around. The coaches aren't stupid. Coaches know what's going on in their room most of the time. not all the time, but most of the time. And when they see there's a guy that adds value in the room, but also can stop pucks on the ice, like that's the best case scenario for a coach for having a number two guy. So
yeah, one of the few things that coaches kind of look for when it comes to goaltending, because they have no idea about anything else. So be a good person, and
yeah.
So just to kind of go back a little bit, like you had talked about potentially getting a few European offers. And I know that, you know, with the grind that comes from being semi-pro in North America and just the fact that there's a lot of goalies fighting for not very many spots, um, a lot of guys carve out really good, stable, solid careers with European teams. So, what are kind of the pros and cons, I guess, of trying to stick it out in North America as opposed to going to, you know, overseas somewhere to play in one of the European leagues? And kind of what are some of the factors I think that some of the goalies listening might take into consideration if they're going to be making this decision in the future?
Yeah, I think guys love Europe, especially towards the end of their career. They realize maybe the NHL might be out of grasp, which it comes a realistic point to everybody at some point when you realize maybe you're not on the trajectory to make the NHL. And I think Europe provides a really like stability, more or less. In North America, like our contracts are week to week, so you could sign a contract, you're making 585 a week, whatever, in the East Coast League, and then someone gets sent down from the American League, you're gone. It doesn't matter if you pitch I've seen guys pitch two shutouts in a row or whatever, and then guy gets dropped down, they're gone. Right. So it is tough. And if you do well, yes, you can get picked up, but then you're still bouncing around. You might be moving from city to city, I remember my first year pro, I put 10,000 kilometers on my vehicle in 2 months. So you could be bouncing around. You could get fortunate and find a spot that you stick around with, but like that's kind of the risk you play. And yes, it's good to build a resume to go to Europe, but like once you do get to Europe, your contracts are yearly, so you're sometimes even 2 years. If they want to let you go, if you're not performing, they often have to pay you out, so at least you're getting your money. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. They really take care of their imports. You'll get your own apartment. You're not rooming with somebody. You might get a vehicle. But that's the biggest thing compared, I'd say, to North America and Europe. Is Europe's a little bit more stable. Money's pretty good, depending on where you go, and yeah, your job's a bit more secure. Whereas in North America, there's a lot more options. It's awesome being in North America because obviously the language is the same. You don't have to battle language barriers. You it's a little bit more pro like, I guess. In some spots in Europe it can feel a little bit different as well, in the pro aspect of things where it's professionally how professionally run it is. But yeah, like I think I know guys that will stick in North America just because they like to live in the U.S. They want to be closer to home. They want to be closer to home. They're more homebodies. Whereas in Europe, you're going 10, 15 hours away flight, and you're totally different language. Most places, yes, no English, but it is different. Everything you do is different. I went to Sweden during COVID with my brother. He stayed up until Christmas. He played in the Western League. He had up until Christmas to decide if he wanted to go to school or go play, continue playing professional. So I went up until September just to kind of go on a tryout, just to kind of see how it was. And it was amazing. We loved Sweden. But for me, it was just, I wanted to pursue my master's and get that done. I had a year left of eligibility, excuse me. So yeah, no, it's definitely, there's pros and cons to both. It kind of depends on what stage you are in your career, what you're looking to get out of it. North America, if the dream is to play in the NHL still, like you want to probably stay in North America.
So probably not a question that I really want to put forward, but I think something to consider at some point, because although it's different for everyone at different points in their career, at what point do you believe that it's time to hang up the skates instead of trying to pursue a career in professional hockey?
Yeah, that's a question I think is a yearly question for me at this point. I'm now married. It's not just me, as Nathan knows. He's married and has a couple kids. Life changes once you have a family. So, my wife is extremely supportive. She was with me this year. She was went through the moving around and finding spots. But she's completely supportive with me. So at the end of the day, it's if I'm continuing to progress, great. We'll continue to do it. I think a goal of ours would be obviously, hey, if the American League came back knocking and I got an opportunity, got a full-time East Coast job, that'd be great. But eventually, it'd be nice to go play in Europe and be able to play and also do a little bit of traveling and stuff, right? Like that's something that we'd both like to do. And with the European schedule, I think you have like 4 weeks of breaks throughout the season, so it gives you that ability to kind of do that as well. So that's something we've looked at, and so for us, it's kind of a year by year thing. And I think at least we'll do at least one more year in North America and see how it goes. But it completely depends on how I progress. Like if I get a full time East Coast League job and getting games next year, then maybe I stick it out a year or two. Right? It totally depends kind of on how things go with that. And the higher I get up in North America and get games and play well, the easier it is to get a good job in Europe where you can get paid good, where you can have make a good living out there as well, right? So there's factors, and I'm blessed that I got the opportunity to get a lot of schooling done and almost done my master's as well. So like I know hopefully there will be some opportunities for me post hockey career. But I think the big thing for us right now is just trying to take it year by year. I still love playing. I think my body is the best it's been in my whole career. It's funny. The older I've gotten, the more my body's felt better playing. So just we'll see how that goes, and yeah, it'll be a family decision on when that time comes. But yeah, it's different for everybody. People have different priorities. Some guys I know guys that are playing pro that are just done. They just realize, hey, there's more to life. I'm ready to move on, and that's okay. That's totally okay. And for me, I don't think I'd be quite satisfied yet leaving the game, and I'm fortunate enough to have a wife that supports that, and we're able to do this together.
Yeah, for sure. That was I kind of had a brief struggle as to if I wanted to keep going after college or try and, grind it out or not. And I just decided that it wasn't for me at where I was at in life. And but kudos to you guys that go and do it, because I mean, I can't imagine how rough that is, being in a place for 2 weeks and then getting the boot and who knows what's going to happen. But before we kind of tie into what you kind of have planned for after your career, I do want to go through just your kind of championship this year, since it's still fresh in the mind and all of that. So why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about like some of the approaches mentally that you had for some of those big games, because I know like there are a lot of people out there that get really nervous before those games and anxious. So just kind of see what personally worked for you, and then also just talk about finally kind of finding a foothold after bouncing around a couple places this season, and kind of being able to ride out the end of the season in a bit more of a stable environment and going through that.
Yeah. So I think a big thing is, sorry, can you repeat the first question again? That was
Yeah, just your kind of like mental approach, I guess, for the championship run and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So for that, I think a big thing, like for me, like I said earlier, like I didn't get to play in the playoffs. We had a really hot goalie, and there's actually CC's brother that played for Edmonton. He's in Dallas now. He was playing phenomenal, and for me, it was just kind of be ready every game. Like even though I'm not starting, I still had to be prepared, right? I have a different preparation for when the days I'm playing, the days I'm not playing. It just kind of you gotta relax. I learned like if you get too tense, you can psych yourself out. I've learned like hockey's hockey. We've played it for years. You know how to play the game. It's so much more mental at this point. I'd say it's like 95%, if not more, mental, because you know you can do it. It's just making sure you're in the right headspace. So for me, I have different routines for days I'm playing, days I'm not. But during the playoffs, and there's times that there's a chance I could have went in playoffs this year, and for me, it's just you got to be mentally sharp. You got to be engaged, even though you're watching. You're still engaged. You're still staying mentally sharp and focused for when you have to go in. And I think one thing I learned, instead of having nerves, is I kind of change it from nerves to excitement. So it's like telling myself, like, even though I might be feeling nervous, it's just I'm excited. I'm excited to play. I'm excited to play the game I love in front of thousands of people every night. And I think for games when I was playing, because there's times this year where I'd be put in after maybe our team lost three straight, or where we need a big win and it's against the top opponent, top team in the league, and we're in their barn on a Sunday afternoon, and you just had 6 hours of bus trip, right? Or the night before, right? So there's a lot of factors, but you just gotta, you put yourself in the best situation you can at the time, and try not to focus on things you can't control. Stay in the moment, enjoy it. Like I said, you never know when your last hockey game is, so it's really just try to enjoy the moment and just be prepared and dial it in. But I think for me, I think the biggest one is just staying in the moment, keeping your mind clear, and just positive self talk. I'm always talking positively for me, and always praying throughout the game. Just give my just stay in it, and for me, that's how it kind of works. And during the championship run, it was just like I said earlier, just really doing whatever I could to support guys, build guys up. Like, you don't realize, even like just giving someone else positive self talk, or like someone comes off the bench and they're upset or frustrated, flustered. I was able at times just to calm guys down and tell them, hey, you're playing great. You're a great player. Like, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like, just do any way I could to help and stay positive, right? So I think, yeah, it's just as I didn't realize, I kind of, when you're not playing, you try to think like, hey, did I really do much to, like, earn the win, earn the championship? And like, looking back now, I can say, you know what, I did everything I could in that position to help the team win, and that's kind of what I'm thankful for. Thankful for that opportunity. So
Nice. Do you mind sharing with us your two routines by chance?
yeah, like, so like when I'm playing, like, I have more of a rigorous routine. Like, it'll start the night before, and it's nothing crazy. Like, just like, I have a playlist I listen to in the shower the night before, playlist before the game, that I have, and it's just years. Like, for me, it's like, it gets, when I keep my routine, it's whether it breaks or not, whatever, you got to adapt. I don't want people to just be superstitious and be like, I have to do this to be able to be successful. That's not what you want. I have a routine that, like, when I'm able to do it, it just kind of gets me in the mental headspace I have to. I think I've been doing it since I was 18 years old, right? So it's kind of, I've built it over years, and it just, every time, like, there's a timestamp for certain things, but it just gets me mentally prepared for where I have to be at that moment up until puck drop. So, like, on when I'm not playing, I'll be a lot more relaxed. I won't be as rigorous. Just give yourself a mental break as well. That's important. And it doesn't mean if I go in that I'm not going to perform. Like, it's just that I found ways for me to, I can be relaxed, and if I get called, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So, yeah, no, that's kind of how it works for me. I'm not really a big into the, like, I'll eat good, but I don't need to eat the same meal for. I know guys that have to eat the same meal for pregame and stuff. I'm not like that. I'm pretty relaxed with that. But just having a routine, I'll take a nap around a certain time, at the same time, at least relax a bit. And then I like to get to the rink at the same time. And on home games, on away games, you might be delayed on the bus, right? So you can't control. You got to be able to control what you can, and roll with the punches with whatever it looks like. But yeah, that's kind of what a little bit difference in my routines from when I'm playing, when I'm not.
So jumping back into kind of our previous conversation, just Tajo, you and I have worked together a couple of times in Leduc with just the summer camp that usually happens about mid-August, around that time there. Um, just kind of leading into that, just when you do decide it's time to hang up the skates, just what plans do you have after hockey? Just like you were mentioning before, you were talking about, like, you got your master's with schooling, what do you, like, is there anything you plan to do with that? Just kind of what sort of things have you done to prepare for as best as possible?
Yeah, I think that's something I still every day, like, kind of think about, is like what I want to do after hockey. I think one thing I'll touch on quick too is like for young hockey players is like don't have your identity wrapped up in hockey. Like hockey isn't who you are. I know it can be tough to transition. I haven't hit that transition period yet where I'm transitioning out of hockey, but I know guys do struggle with it because you've been doing this for 25, 30 years some point times at that point, right? So it is hard to transition out. So I think it's important, like just not to have your identity wrapped up in hockey. You're a hockey player and that's something you do, but it's not who you are. So for me, like I've been fortunate to play in a lot of different places, make some really good connections and networking, and that's important too because you never know after hockey what will open up. For me, I think now at my point, like I think I'm going to start doing some mentorship while I am playing because I think like what I've been through and what I go through is valuable. And like if I could, like I said earlier, like I wish I knew now what I do when I was 15. So if I'm thinking of like just starting mentorship, maybe some advising for young athletes and just helping them through the day to day of what they go through as a player, and just so they can use my experience to learn and not learn maybe the way I had to learn and later on as well. So yeah, that's something I've always been passionate about. I'd love possibly to coach. Like I've done goalie coaching for years and been able to work with some of the best goalie coaches in the world. And I've learned a lot from many, many different goalies and goalie coaches. So that's something I've looked into. And then also having the business degree, that's something that's always there too. So it's hard right now for me. And that's partly maybe why I'm still playing is like, I know it's not time for me to transition yet because I don't know exactly what I would want to do. And so that's something that's for me, like as I'm playing, I'm still thinking about that and trying to figure out what would be the best route for me. So I think, yeah, just tried to prepare myself with getting schooling done and was fortunate to get scholarships while playing, which is amazing. And I think for me, it's just kind of taking it year by year at this point, and whether it's in the coaching aspect or the advising or mentorship aspect or completely out of hockey and doing business, like that's something that will, I think, just kind of pave its way as I continue to go down this process of playing.
So I wanted to jump into the coaching aspect of that quickly because like I said, like you and I worked with Wyatt Waslinchuk for a couple of summers here in the Edmonton area. Just how did that connection come about, and just more broadly, how did you get into coaching to begin with?
Yeah, I think like working with Wyatt and those guys, I think it was like Luke Lush actually texted me and was like, "Hey, would you like to goalie coach this week? Where we need coaches." And like I love any chance I get to be able to help out kids and work with them and share my knowledge, the knowledge I do have that I've gained. I love doing it and passionate about seeing kids take the next steps in their hockey and their careers as well. And so I love any way I can help with that. And then I think for coaching, I've always like working back in the day with John Stevenson, who's completely out of hockey now and doing sports psychology. Is I used to goalie coach, I think, since I was like 12, just helping him out with the younger groups, and then helping out Dustin Schwartz, who's with the Oilers now, and then Michael Lawrence is a guy I've worked with quite a bit in Ontario, and some of his goalies is like Elvis Merzlankis, Zach Fucali, some good goalies, right? So I've been able to learn from some really good goalie coaches, and then I have a passion for helping younger athletes kind of pursue their dreams. So that's kind of how that's shaped for me, and whether I do that full time or not, and when I'm done, like that's something I'll have to look into, but for me right now, it's just whenever I can, like the summers for me as a pro athlete, it's nice I can do that. I can go goalie coach with different goalie schools and help out and stuff, right? With the flexibility of my schedule. So yeah, no, we'll see kind of where that goes, but that's something definitely I'm passionate about.
Friend of the show, Luke Lush. We had him on a few episodes ago, but yeah, it was a fun conversation there. But no, Luke's a great guy, and we were fortunate enough to have him. Not entirely sure what's going on with Mr. Park over there, so we're going to continue on here live again. Wouldn't be a DIY goalie pod without some kind of a struggle city happening here. So.
Hey, just persevering through adversity. That's all it is.
We're grinding it out over here.
Glue guy.
Yeah.
Can you guys even
No,
hear me?
yes, we can. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I just like talking over you. That's all.
Well, I only hear like half of what you say. It's like blah blah blah, bleh, blah blah blah.
Oh, we might have lost him again.
As he's freezing right now. So.
Oh my god. Oh.
Screw it. We'll do it live. Okay. Well, Nathan could just sit there and look pretty as we move on. Just what, Taylor, do you think are some important skills for goalies to focus on to help them get to that pro level?
That's such a broad question. Like, it's everybody has their own certain style, as Parksy knows. Like, I remember watching him when he was in junior and midget, like even seeing him develop too. Like, I remember watching him in his young days, and he just was a battler. Like, he'd make saves that I'd be like, I don't even know how he made those saves, right? But then it was cool to see his progression, right, and see him like kind of still have that and not lose that, but also like just become a really technically sound goalie at the same time. And that's something you can teach. The battling and the athleticism is not something you can teach, right? So everybody has different skill sets and different height. Like, hey, if I was 6'5", that maybe wouldn't be talking right now. You know, who knows? Who knows where we'd be, right? So it's like everybody has different aspects to their game, size. But I think the biggest thing is like you need to be able to track the puck. That's the key one, and being able to track the puck. You got to be a good skater. As that's the one thing I think, and I'm sure you guys have seen coaching is there's kids need to emphasize their skating. I know a lot of them don't like to do it. They like to see the pucks right away in practice, but it's so important to be such a good skater. Like, you watch any NHL goalie, they are elite level, like skate anywhere in pro. You got to be an elite skater, and I think that's something that is so pushed away now. And like, whether it's the passion that kids have for it, they don't really necessarily, what I've noticed is kids don't necessarily want to skate as much. They just want to really focus on pucks. And I think it's a key thing is you got to be able to skate. You got to be able to have really good edge work. You got to be able to track the puck, and then kind of you can play with everything else around that, right? There's guys that are more athletic. There's guys that are more poised, more sound, right? So I think the key things, you got to be a good skater and you got to be able to track the puck effectively.
I think I came off the struggle bus for a little bit here. If I could so chime in.
We'll send you back on assignment here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the sucking up for my game back in the day. Very flattering. But yeah, no, so just building off of that, then kind of a similar question, but if you could kind of go back and either give a younger goalie or even maybe like your younger self or anything like that, kind of one piece of advice moving forward, what do you think that would be?
I think work as hard as you can. You want to work smart, but you got to work hard, and you got, like, everybody's doing it nowadays. Like, we didn't have social media the way we did when we were younger. So you see all these young kids doing all this stuff. I think is getting on the ice as much as possible without burning yourself out, working on the fundamentals, being a really strong skater. And then I think just if you love the game, go for it. Because I remember, I think I really started working on my game like seriously at like 14 or 15 years old, and still it's late nowadays, right? You have kids at 10 years old that are really taking it serious. I remember watching a kid. I had a I was goalie coaching in university part-time, and a goalie coach was like, hey, can you go look at this like 9-year-old kid? And I was like, sure, like if you really, like, I guess, like, he's 9, but like, sure, I'll go take a look and give you my input. And I remember I got on the ice and he looked good. I was like, okay, he has really good fundamentals, like very solid fundamentals for a 9-year-old. But I remember I started taking shots on him, and he's making it look easy. He's just tracking it easy. He's making an easy save, and then out of nowhere, I'm like really trying now. I'm really firing the puck at him. I'm taking slap shots. Like, I'm shooting as hard as I can, and he's just making it look easy. Like, he's just effortless. And I was like, okay, this kid's special. And then I remember meeting with the family. I just wanted to give them some advice because he was the first really, he's the oldest in their family. He was the first hockey player in their family. He was young, and I was just giving him advice on kind of what he wanted to do. And I remember talking to this kid. It was like having a conversation with an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, just his mentality. Like he was so dialed in, like 9 years old, wanted to play in the NHL and wanted to, like was prepared, completely more prepared than I was at that, like not even close at that age. And like I kind of stayed in touch with him, have helped him out along the way, done some coaching with him, and now he's playing in the QMJHL and he's doing phenomenally well. But like, it was weird because like I usually with goalies too, you never know really where they're at in their development. It's really hard to kind of see where they're going to be at that age. And I remember the kid reminded me a lot of Carter Hart when Carter was at that age, right? And like now, and I know things have happened and stuff, but you can see kind of where what he did, right, with his career. And but I remember just seeing this kid and I'm like, this kid's going to be a good goalie. And he had that mentality. He was focused at 9 years old, 10 years old, and he wanted to be the best player he could be. He wanted to put the extra work in. He wanted to work on his skating. He wanted to work on as much as he could. And there's a reason that's where he is now, right? And he'll probably get drafted this year to the NHL. So, yeah. So I think it's just like for kids this age, like there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of good goalies. There's a lot of resources. Tap into all the resources you can if you're really serious about it. Like have a conversation with your parents. Be like, hey, mom, dad, I really want to do this. If it's in the means, let's try to get this done.
Yeah, we have a client that we work with too. Like he's 10, and he's like at the rink 2 hours before a game, and he's like doing ball drills, and he's got like the visual edge at home and all this stuff. And he's like, for his age, he's phenomenal. But it's crazy to me though, because like a lot of these 9, 10, 11-year-olds are better than we were at 14, 15, 16. Like nowadays.
100%.
Like
100%.
it's crazy.
There's too many resources now. Like you can go online and look up things that like we had to like go somewhere for, right? We had to go to a summer camp to get that information. So it's like
and even the development too.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's only going to get harder, I think, for as long as there's kids. Like the generation's also a lot different too. But like if you have that mentality and you want to give yourself an edge and get ahead of the game, I guess, like start now, start early, and you don't have to be crazy. Like you don't have to be in the rink 365 days of the year. That's not what I'm saying. Like it's good to take a break from hockey and do other sports in the summer too. Like it's very healthy. I think sometimes you can overdo it, but like when you are training and you are getting prepared, it's just make the most of it. Don't go through the motions, make the most of it. And like getting coaching, phenomenal. I wish I had more coaching now even, right? Like it's the more knowledge you can get and the more you can have eyes on your game, the more it's going to help. There's a reason why NHL goalies, NHL developed goalies that are drafted, like they have eyes on them all day. When I was up in the American League, you had a full-time goalie coach there every practice, right? So there's a reason why guys are getting better and better and better, right? It's you got to tap into the knowledge around you and do what you can to make it work.
Connor and I will just shadow you. We'll be your full-time goalie coach.
Hey, I take it.
I'll take it too. Trust me. Well, Taylor, it has been fun catching up with you. I don't think I've seen you probably in about a year, actually. So it's good to see you, my friend. Just one last question here, just to wrap up for today. Just where can people find you?
Yeah, I guess my Instagram would be a good one if anybody ever needs to reach out and or is looking for any type of mentorship. Let me just confirm my Instagram account here. But Talor Joseph 35. So my name's spelled a little different. It's Talor Joseph 35. That's the best way to reach out. And if someone really wants to get a hold of me, you can get my number from Nathan or Connor as well. So, but any way I can help out and just be a light for these kids and give them an opportunity to pursue a hockey career, that's all I can ask for. So.
Yeah, and we'll throw that in the show notes too if you guys want to check out Tajo's Instagram.
There you go. Well, Talor, thanks again for coming on the pod. We really appreciate it.
No, hey guys, it's always awesome talking hockey. It's great to catch up with both of you. I know life is different now as we age and stuff, but yeah, it was awesome getting get on the show with you guys and make this work.
Well, we'll definitely bring you back for a second episode here at some point. But anyways, goalies, we will cap it off there for today. Another episode of the DIY Goalie presented by True North Goaltending in the books. If you are watching over on the YouTube side of things, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. The more goalies that we are able to bring to our little community, the better. You can also follow us on your favorite podcasting platforms, whether it be Apple, iHeart, or Spotify. Make sure you hit that follow button. It's free. Share with your friends because, again, more goalies that we can bring together, the better. You guys can follow us on your favorite social media platforms all over at True North Goaltending, except for Instagram because we like to be different. You can follow us there at YEG Goalie Coach. I think we're just about in the tail end process now of transferring everything over to the True North website.
Yeah, I'm probably about, 60% done. It's a process.
Fair enough. But yeah. just make sure. I mean, the DIY Goalie website is still live, so you guys can check us out there. But it would just be better just to start checking us out over at True North Goaltending. We do have some camps that still need to be filled. I think it's our week-long camp in August that still has some spots open, so make sure you guys book over there. If you do happen to be in the Edmonton area, you can follow myself over on Instagram at MondayGC. Until next time, goalies, make some saves. Take care. We'll see you next time.